Okay, so I'm Shay LUNSETH. If anyone hasn't met me yet, I like to do these webinars every month during this season to set some expectations and answer questions. So today I'll do some kind of broad overview things, stuff that we talk about a lot, but good reminders for the season and things that are timely for our springtime that we're experiencing right now. So I'll start off with what to expect from going organic or our approach throughout the season, how we control weeds, how weather affects some of the things that we do and the products that we use, watering tips, and then just briefly talk about other types of lawns that we can do, including bee lawns. So most people have the standard program, although we are able to customize that based on your needs. So we can always um, go away from this standard program, but the standard program is what we're meant to do. That's going to work for every lawn. They're meant to work together in harmony, and this would be the minimum that we would want you to work for the season. It starts off with our corn gluten meal. That's an application that we're finishing this week. The next application that we'll do is going to be our liquid iron, which is our post-emergent broadleaf weed control. We will combine that with our organic fertilizer. Then later in the summer, we'll do some corn gluten meal again. And then the fall, we aerate, we overseed, and we do the fall fertilizer. So what you can expect for the season is that organic lawn care is a process. It's something that's you can see the best success when you work the program for multiple years. The standard program, we would expect to have that to work that program for 3 full seasons to see the best success that the weed control could do. We always have a tolerance for 5 to 10% of weeds after 3 years. And then we talk about the cost. So going organic is not for everyone. We have to put down more product to do the same that a synthetic program can do. All of those products we do think about where we source those. We want to source them within 500 miles of our shop, and that we want to use the best products available that are OMRI certified. So all of those things, similar to organic food, can cost more money than the synthetic or chemical alternatives. Weed control, this is the toughest part of an organic lawn care program. So we'll talk about what we have for weed control. And this is really why organic lawn care is a process, because a lot of this is going to take some time to work. We start with our early spring corn gluten meal. That is a pre-emergent for summer annuals, so it's not going to work on existing weeds. We do our late spring liquid iron application. That's our post-emergent. So we'll be starting those applications next week. We also, part of our weed control is allelopathic grass species. So those are the grasses that we sow in the fall or other times in the spring for those that request it. And then I'll go over some cultural methods, so things that you can do that help aid in the process. So corn gluten meal, we do use non-GMO corn. That is, it's a pre-emergent because it actually will inhibit the roots from fully forming on weeds that are or plants that are trying to grow. So weeds that are trying to establish. It also can prevent grass seed from germinating, the same as it would for a germinating weed. So that's why we have some parameters about the timing on our spring seeding efforts with that corn gluten application. Generally 3 to 4 weeks before or after is when you can seed of this application. If you do want to seed more immediately after, you can always create a barrier of dry compost or topsoil or a combination of that. It really only needs to be about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch thick, and then that could create a barrier so those two products don't conflict with each other. Corn gluten meal does not affect existing plants. So things like you can see in the picture, those are dandelions, and Those are dandelions are biennial, so they are perennials and they also are annuals. So they'll persist through the winter, but then they will reproduce by seed and have multiple blooms within a season. So corn gluten meal is not going to affect any dandelions that are there now, but it will help and prevent some of those blowing seeds, the germination of those. Um, Timing and rates of corn gluten meal are very crucial for the success. You do have to have the right amount for it to have some weed control abilities, and we do have to time it where we we can't start it too early, but we also don't do it past the time where the soil reaches 55 degrees, which is about now. And so one thing to consider is that there's always going to be heat zones within a lawn. So those are soil areas that are going to heat up faster than other parts of our lawn. Um, that would be along concrete, so things that are adjacent to sidewalks or driveways, maybe south-facing slopes, areas that might have snow melt before other spots, and that might heat up very quickly. Those are going to be very common areas for weeds to thrive. One, weeds that like warmer soil, and then two, because they might start the process before we can get out there with the corn gluten application. So multiple years of this is going to offer some greater success. Our post-emergent product is chelated iron. We also refer to that as liquid iron. So chelation is the basically a process that's going to make that iron be disguised as an amino acid. So when it's disguised as such, the certain plants, that would be broadleaf weeds, will think it's food. They'll take it up very quickly, and they will basically overdose on that intake of iron. Uh, those are going to be dicot plants. Monocots are grasses. Those don't have the same processes of taking in that chelated iron or the amino acid the same way. So they will just take in as much iron as they need as a micronutrient. They will green up and then they will shut that down when they've had enough. So that's why we can blanket spray this product, and it will affect some broadleaf weeds, but not all. And that's just the process of how those weeds absorb it. So, and iron is a kind of a valuable micronutrient. So you'll see that the lawn will green up. That's another reason why we don't spot spray this, is because the grass will have a darkening effect after the application. So, as I had said, it negatively affects some broadleaf weeds, but not all. It won't affect anything that is grassy. You'll see some things like dandelions; those can be killed within 24 hours. Um, but there are some weeds that need multiple applications. Specifically, we need 4 applications to be effective against creeping Charlie, thistle, plantains, and clover. So if any of those things are unwanted in the lawn, you know that you have them. Requesting the full amount of iron applications in the season, that would be 4 is the maximum that we do. Then make sure you reach out to the office and we can request some more applications. So chelated iron is also our only product that has a dry time. So we do want to stay off of the lawn until that product dries. Basically, it needs to dry to work. So we want that product to dry onto those weeds to make sure that it's absorbed correctly and work. So we don't want humans and pets to walk the product off when it's wet. The other thing that we do is we don't spray it too close to wanted plants. So that would be your gardens, anything in a landscaping bed. We don't apply it on rock beds, mulched areas. We don't do it too close to driveways or any sort of stone pathways or things that are not intended for it. It's intended to be into the grass area, and we don't over spray it on things that we don't want. There's several reasons for that, but one that is something that could stain like a white fence. So we're going to be very careful of that. This is an example of what a weed looks like when it is being suppressed. You can see that it is kind of turning black, purple, brown colors on the outside. That is the iron working. There's some weeds like creeping Charlie, thistle, clover, and plantains that will look stressed out, but then they will recover from that stress. So that's why the repeat applications are necessary, because we are repeatedly stressing out that plant, getting it to not recover. And then I'm going to just share a video. We have a lot of videos on our website about various things that we talk about a lot. This one is going to be specific to creeping Charlie, which is a weed that we get asked about quite often. Creeping Charlie is the toughest weed in Minnesota to control, even with chemicals. Being persistent and working as a neighborhood is the textbook answer to eradicate. Heavy metal raking it out in the spring is helpful. Homeowners are encouraged to do so. Our organic approach to creeping Charlie is chelated iron. Timing multiple applications correctly is our most aggressive approach. Timing of application starts in the spring or midsummer and continues through fall. Keep in mind, wind speed, temperature, and rainfall can affect the timing of our application. Chelated iron works best in temperatures between 50 and 80 degrees and is rain fast after 1 hour. We only treat the lawn areas and do not address landscaping beds or wild areas. To successfully eradicate creeping Charlie from your lawn, adjacent areas need to be addressed. If you have creeping Charlie, let us know and we'll form a plan for you. Sorry, there we go. Um, so um, so creeping Charlie is something we get asked a lot. So let us know if you have it, if you have any questions, if you have it, we can identify that easily. Here I wanted to show some of the other plants that the iron is rated for. So it is not rated for all broadleaf weeds, and these are give a nice visual of the ones that it does is rated to suppress. There could be some weeds that can be suppressed by iron that aren't on this list, but we would never guarantee that because it's not something that they've tested and proved that it can work against. So the first one is black medic. This one can be kind of confused with oxalis and clover. You can tell on this one that the middle leaf is on its own separate stalk, and then at certain times of year it has a little yellow flower. So that one needs, I would say, 2 or 3 applications of iron can do the best job on this particular weed. Broadleaf plantain, this is one that requires the 4 applications. You can see that nice thick leaf on there. So that's going to take be one that's going to need multiple stressing opportunities for that to be suppressed. Thistle, so that would include both thistle as well as Canadian thistle. Thistles are ones that need 4 applications. This particular weed also, even on the 4th application, it may enter winter looking alive, but then it won't overwinter well going into it with that stress of the iron. So being persistent with that through the season and then noticing the suppression the next season is what you will find with this weed. Chickweed. So the iron does not work for mouse-eared chickweed. It is rated for common chickweed. Common chickweed is an annual in the summer, or actually, I believe it's a perennial, but it's one that we see blooming in the summertime. And it is you may see the little white flowers on it. It's often in shaded areas and moist areas. Creeping buttercup, we don't see that one as much, but it certainly is one that can be suppressed with the iron. Dandelions, those we see right now, so we'll be coming by with those applications here soon. We'll be doing the iron applications for probably the next 6 weeks. Dovefoot geranium and English daisy, that one is usually more in landscaping beds, but can be found in home lawns. False dandelions, we don't see those too much. They're often on like roadsides. Heal all. So this is one we always note about because this is part of bee lawn mix. And so you want to note that whenever you sow mixes that are for pollinators, that you're encouraging flowering plants. We can't do suppression of some other plants. So once we sow a bee lawn, we don't have iron included in the program anymore because we don't want to kill some of those flowering plants like the heal all and the Dutch white clover that would be included. Lawn burrweed is another one that is susceptible. Oxalis, so this is one that's confused sometimes with the black medic and the clover. You can see that this one has this kind of heart-shaped leaf. It will also have little yellow flowers during this season. Speedwell, so this is one that I've been seeing a lot this spring, and the iron is rated to suppress this weed. Shepherd's purse. This is, I believe it's a winter annual. We see this tall white flower here, usually in the springtime. A cinquin foil, that one is less common, but one that's suppressed by the iron. And then white clover. This we will never determine this as a weed in somebody's lawn. We really require the homeowner to let us know their tolerance level. Some people sow clover as part of like a diversity for their lawn. Some people do not like it. So if you want to control creeping Charlie, but you don't want to control clover, it's going to be difficult because both of those are going to require 4 applications of iron to suppress. If you do like clover, generally in Minnesota, you can just wait and it will generally find a way into your lawn. Maintaining just small amounts of it is good, good diversity. It's good free fertilizer for your lawn, and it also supports our pollinators. And wild chamomile is another one that they can be suppressed, as well as wild geranium. So the third way that we are going to control weeds in the lawn is allelopathic grass species. So this is really, we prevent some weeds with the corn gluten meal. We get some out as a post-emergent with our chelated iron. And then we're replacing those weeds in the lawn with allelopathic grass species. So similar to like a black walnut tree, it excretes like a chemical in the environment that will prohibit some things to grow around it. Fine fescues are a species of grass that have a lot of allelopathic characteristics. So similar to that, where they want to grow around each other. So a really good way to have some natural weed control is to have a lawn that has a lot of allelopathic grass species that helps crowd out unwanted things like weeds. So our LUNSETH mixes, we do customize our mix every year. Look at NTEP studies, which is the National Turf Graphs research. They test them in different states and they test for different characteristics. So we're always looking for ones that are doing well in Minnesota, that have good disease resistant, that are allelopathic, and that they overwinter well, as well as have, I think I mentioned it, disease resistance and other characteristics. Diversity is good so that you always have some grasses that are going to do better than others in certain environmental conditions, whether we're super wet or super hot and dry. Our sunshade mix is going to contain 10% Kentucky bluegrass and 90% of different fine fescues. The fescues that are in our blends are hard fescue, chewing fescue, and slender creeping red fescue. Those are the 3 that we use. Our shade mix is going to be 100% fine fescues, and that is going to include those 3 fescue varieties as well. So fine fescues, we use these a lot because they are very low maintenance. The idea with going organic is that we're maintaining the lawn with as little inputs that we can. So less water, less nitrogen, requiring less things like sunlight. We are always using a variety because, in a general sense, they may not recover from drought periods well for long periods. But things like hard fescue actually have been testing very well for drought conditions, especially those couple years ago when we had 2 summers of very, very hot, stressful weather. The hard fescue was shining. So we do look at that and then include more of those in our mixes, anticipating what the next season's going to be. So you can see this is just there's the 4 fescues that are commonly in that fine fescue family. The one we don't use is sheep fescue. The time we use that is specific to people that are going to have like a no-mow or low grow lawn. So one that is, it's very useful on places like hillsides so that you don't have to maintain it and you don't need to mow it. Those are usually mowed just spring and fall. Fall, you want to kind of mow it down to prevent snow mold in the winter, and then spring just to get some oxygen in there and get ready for the season. Um, our fescues, the red, the hard, and the chewings fescue. One thing that to note is that it likes to be cut really high. It can do really well that way, and you can always experiment in your own lawn. Is seeing how long you can keep the grass. You can look at the aesthetic and see if you like the way that that looks. The sheep fescue is the one that kind of flops over, so it gives it that nice kind of rolling wave look that is for a nice no-mow situation. But you could try that with your lawn at any time and see if you like that aesthetic. So kind of like no mow May, we would really promote slow mow summer, so mowing less often throughout the summertime. And the fine fescues work well to do that. So cultural methods, what you can do. One is establishing grass in some of your kind of trouble spots or bare areas. We're going to talk about watering and we're going to talk about mowing. A little plug here is we do electric mowing in certain cities. So if you're interested in that, please reach out and we can share some pricing with you. So grass always needs a period of drying out to be healthy. So very common is for people to overwater. So we'll talk a little bit later about strategies on how to water throughout the summer. One of those can be preventing dormancy. So if we're going to go into an extended period of hot and dry weather, and we know that giving the lawn a nice good soak beforehand to prevent it going dormant is a nice way to protect your grass. Dormancy is really just the grass protecting itself from stresses. So it doesn't mean that the grass is dead or there's something unhealthy about it. It's a very natural thing. You just don't want a grass to be dormant for over 40 days because then it could cause death. And it's much easier to prevent dormancy than to break dormancy. The other things that that you can do that is helpful. So we can do some spring seeding. We do that via slit seed machine or via dry compost and seed. The areas, our main seeding effort is done in the fall because that's the most successful time for our cool season grasses to establish. They can overwinter much easier than they can over summer. But some things that you can't, wait all season for is to repair dog spotting areas, winter kill, grub damage. Those are all things that would need to be addressed by spring seeding. We can help guide on when to do that in timing with our other efforts of the corn gluten and the iron, but something that you can do to help because if we don't establish grass in bare areas, weeds will fill in those spots before the grass will thicken and fill in there. So something that you can always ask us questions about. The other thing is we always can drop off seed during the season. So if you ever want to request a bag of seed for some of your kind of trouble spots or tight areas, things that we're not addressing with the overseeding in the fall, we can certainly drop you off some seed. When you mow, we want to mow at least 3 inches. Higher is even better, especially if it's hot and dry. The higher that grass is cut, the more protection you're giving for the crown of the grass plant. The other thing to note is that the length of the top of the grass is going to be mimicked by the root system. So the longer you keep the top, the longer that the roots will be. And the longer the roots are, the more drought resistant they are. And that's why we want everybody to think about things as low maintenance, so requiring less water during the season. Um, Other good things to do, keep your blades sharpened. Never cut more than 1/3 of the grass blade off at a time. So if anyone is participating in no mow May, when they get ready to start mowing again, you have to be really careful about how you do it and only do small increments at a time. If you cut off more grass than more than 1/3 of that grass blade, it could stress the grass out. It could cause death if we enter into a period of hot and dry weather. That's also very similar why you wouldn't want to mow when the grass is dormant or stressed out from lack of water. Um, Cutting the lawn is always stressful for grass. So doing it at times that are less stressful is important. Also, maybe mowing, if you can time it right before a nice rain event, then that helps that lawn recover nicely from that mowing. And then change your mowing patterns. I see it very, very often, rings around trees that are getting rutted out. Important to change it up. That's healthy for your grass and healthy to not get ruts within the lawn. I always like to share this slide about seeding. So if you do want to do some more seeding and buy seed on your own, this is a good little cheat sheet about what to look for. When you buy seed, you really want to turn the bag around and read what's in there. Even seed that says like good for northern climates may have some warm season grasses in there. Some may have things like very little grass and a lot of inert matter, which is more like mulch with a little bit of seed in it. So you want to look at on the backside of the package, you want your purity to be over 85%, your germination rate over 85%. So you want to buy seed that will actually germinate. You don't want weeds in there, so you want that weed seed to be less than 0.3%. Other crops less than 0.5%, and then inert matter should be under the 8%. Typically, that's things like mulch, could be fertilizer, could be other things to kind of that they're adding to that seed variety. Date tested, you want that to be in the next last 9 months. That means that it's been tested more recently, it's more viable, and it's going to have a better germination rate. If they don't tell you these things, that would be concerning. So you can see here on this below part, sometimes they'll say variety and they'll say not stated. So that means they just aren't telling you, they don't know what it is. So you really don't want to use seed that has something like that in it, because it could be some sort of weed that you don't want to introduce. You'd also don't want to find anything that says annual, because we live in Minnesota. All of our seed needs to be able to survive a winter. So anything that is annual is only meant to be if in germination for that particular season. And so here, yeah, it says variety not stated. So you really want to stay out of, if it's just say that they know it's sheep fescue, but they don't know the variety or the cultivar, we want to stay away from things like that. And when in doubt, you can just buy seed that's the most expensive. It generally is going to have the highest germination rate and be the best for your situation. So here, reiterating, keeping the grass cut high. I like this picture where this was one of our organic customers. You can really see the difference in hot summer months from when something is cut too low to when you can keep it nice and high. It'll stay greener. It'll stay have more moisture to it, and just be healthier in those kind of stressful times. It is a really nice way to also contribute to eliminating weeds. When you can keep the sunlight from hitting low-lying weeds by having the grass tall, then it's going to prevent some of those from thriving. If you cut it too short and that sunlight can reach the soil, then it's going to germinate some of the weed seeds that would be inherent to any soil or blowing in from neighbors. So watering, you want to water in the summer deeply and infrequently. So what we mean by that is lawn to be healthy really only needs 1 inch of water per week. The times that that might vary is if you have very sandy soil or you have areas like a south-facing slope where that water isn't staying in the soil for very long, or even heavily clayed soil that might not absorb the water as well. So you might have certain areas of your lawn that require more than watering 1 time per week, but grass in general only needs 1 inch to be healthy. You want to think about what the weather is doing. There's no need, if we've received ample rain for the week, there's no need to add more water to that. Again, how I mentioned before, grass likes a period of drying out. Most grass doesn't like oversaturation. A lot of diseases thrive in thatch that stays moist. So eliminating that creates a nice healthy lawn. The other time we don't want to water deeply and infrequently is when we're seeding. So that's where we change it to we need to water multiple times a day to keep that seed moist so it successfully germinates. But outside of that, or once established, then the deep and infrequent is the best strategy. If you have an irrigation system, if you can run it from the off position and turn it on when you need it, that is always the best. Otherwise, having it to run 1 time per week in the AM is the best strategy. So weather, we'll start entering some maybe favorable or unfavorable weather conditions as we enter into the summertime. Rain is, I think I was probably last spring, if I remember correctly, was we had ample rain. It was very moist, which can create some weed issues, can kind of stress out some of our grasses that don't like it as well. Same for hot weather. There are certain grasses that are going to do much better in the stress of summer than others. Again, why diversity of the grass species is super important. And just a reminder that we reschedule our services. That can be due to heat, it can be due to rain, and it also could be due to wind. And then we have some other things like equipment issues that are usually outside of our control that might prevent us from getting to the home on our scheduled date. So excess water, I like to show this. These are the types of weeds that actually like saturated soils. So sometimes when we look at a weed, it's not necessarily about controlling that particular weed. It's about controlling the environment to make that less suitable. Sedge is a very good example of that, where sedges love kind of swampy, saturated soil conditions. Our cool season grasses won't do well, and those sedges will do better. So sometimes it's a landscaping solution where we can better improve our water and where it's flowing in the lawn, or maybe some low spots, or improving our soil to better filter water better over time can help. And those would help certain weeds that actually thrive in these types of conditions. Heat stress is another one where when we have those really hot, dry summer months, there are certain weeds that love those conditions. Crabgrass is a very good example. Some people do believe that they have crabgrass right now, which crabgrass is a warm season annual. It will only germinate when it is warm out. So that's when we're going to start to see it in July. We're preventing it now, but it'll start actually out competing our cool season grasses in that hot summer months. And so you'll see those very commonly in the heat zones of our lawns. So those areas that heat up quicker than others. And bee lawns are something we get asked quite frequently about. Along with bee lawns, we can also plant specialty types of seed like tall fescue, which is a very durable grass for people with maybe heavy dog use or traffic. Bee lawns are a way to establish a flowering lawn that's going to help introduce or encourage pollinators and provide a food source for them. Again, once we do the bee lawn, there's some things we can't do. So very hard to control creeping Charlie if we have a nice established bee lawn, because we can't kill the Charlie without killing some of our wanted flowering plants. The bee lawn, a lot of those plants like sunny places, so they're going to thrive in those sunny spots in the lawn. The other part of the mix is fine fescues, which we use as well in our normal seed mix. So the fine fescues being low maintenance, they live very well with things like clover. And so that's going to be part of those mix. And so in the shaded areas, you might see that fescue thriving only. And so then I just want to recap the expectations for the season and with our approach to lawn care. One thing I should mention is that we do really like customer communication. So if you have something going on with your lawn that seems unusual, if you have a new weed coming, if you have any questions about what to do, calling our office is the best way for us to answer you. Sometimes the crews might not know the answer or might be moving fast to move on to their next job. Really, the experts are here in the office where we're educated and continually educate about our program and the latest and greatest things that are associated with organic lawn care. So we're always happy to answer questions and make sure that our expectations and your satisfaction are aligned with what we're doing for your program. So, organic lawn care is a process. We share information when we send estimates about what to expect, tips and tricks. All of that is meant to help set the expectations for the season. Weed control takes the longest part, is the trickiest part. So the longer you work the program, the better that weed control will be. And it all really depends on where you start. So if you start with 90% weeds, it might take us a bit longer. If you have zero weeds, then again, it might be more of a seamless transition. We always have a tolerance for 5 to 10% of weeds. So that is always, no matter how long you've been on the program, that is something we are not concerned with. Good diversity for the lawn. And often those weeds do support our pollinators. Everything we do is weather dependent. So whenever there's a challenge in the lawn, I am thinking about what our weather is doing, what it has done, what our winter was like, how we entered spring. You think about all of these things. If we have winters with little snow and then we enter in spring very quickly into 80-degree weather, everything's going to be a bit stressed out and it will be a bit different than what it would be used to on a typical winter. So that's going to set the stage for this season. If we have a nice, cool, long, slow, wet spring, that is usually really good for our cool season grasses. They love it and they're going to enter that stressful part of the summer being healthy. So just know that that's some of the, I would call it, opportunities and challenges each year. Each year offers new things that we might not have imagined would be there, and also new opportunities for a really lovely growing season. There can also be things that will kind of halt our process, like grubs, that they're out of our control. And that's just something that is here in Minnesota and does affect our lawns when they're too numerous. Anything that you can do to aid in the process is helpful. So if you ever have questions about that, we can let you know. Sometimes there's certain weeds where we will say you need to hand pull those. If you can't hand pull them, we can give some strategies about what to do for those weeds. And we'll also think about why those weeds are thriving. So what kind of cultural methods can we do, or what can we do with the program to help minimize those trouble spots? And a nice plug that I'll probably do every time we have a webinar, but we do have electric mowing. We do offer landscaping services. So if you need, a rain garden, patios, outdoor kitchens, all those kind of things, there's pretty much nothing that we can't do in terms of landscaping. And then we have a new division, which is our irrigation division, that will be brand new to us this year. We don't do new installs, but we certainly do maintenance on irrigation. So if you have any questions about that, you can let me know as well, and we can share our process there. And let's see, I am going to open this up to questions. I'm going to stop my share because I can't see the chat right now. So Okay, so yes, I'm going to read some of the questions I have right now. Um, so this is our second season, and it seems like the Creeping Charlie is proliferating, and that I can understand. So one, I'm going to look at Susan's program, make sure that we have ample amount of iron applications. Sometimes we can strategize with different timing of the Creeping Charlie. Typically, what we've been doing the last few years is we always do the first application in May, and then we time the first 3 weeks apart. So our interval time, we can't come back sooner than 3 weeks because we might stress out the grass. So we're going to come back after 3 weeks, and we're going to continue to stress that Charlie out. The idea is it's slowing the spread and it's getting to not recover as well. We'll save that fourth application for the late fall. Typically, weeds are going to be more suppressed in the fall as they prepare for dormancy. They're weak as they are preparing to enter into that winter time. So hitting it when it's weak is a good strategy. Last year, I will say the Creeping Charlie among all plants, we had a very lovely year. I would say we had a lot of moisture, we had a lot of sunshine, and we had a lot of pretty mild, typical seasonal temperatures. So previous years when we are very hot and very stressful conditions, when we hit it with the iron, it's kind of a double whammy stress. And so we noticed that the Creeping Charlie was had very good suppression rates that year. Last year was less so. And then I would just say that when you're in the second season, what I guess the textbook answer, even with chemicals for Creeping Charlie, is be persistent. So that's going to be working at multiple years. It also is working as a neighborhood, which is not really possible, but something to think about, that even when you get Creeping Charlie gone, it will still, if it's coming from someplace like a wild area, maybe somebody else's yard, if it's not eradicated there, it's going to find a way to come in. Creeping Charlie, it actually reproduces by stolons, rhizomes, and seed. So it has a very good way of hopping under fences and going over landscaping. And it can also be transferred by birds and mowing and can blow in. So it is hard to suppress. And even with chemicals, their answer would be to apply a chemical in the fall. That's when the carbohydrates, the wheat is storing carbohydrates in its root system. So if you apply a systemic, it's going to have a better chance of being suppressed then. But Creeping Charlie can become resistant to chemicals. So you need to you really need to use a 3-way. It has to contain triclopyr, it has to contain 2,4-D, and then it has to contain a third mode of action chemical. That's really the best way to do it. Sometimes we can do things like a 5th spot spray application in the very late fall. So if the Creeping Charlie is contained to an area, we can add in a 5th application outside of grass areas to help suppress that. But yes, each year, new opportunities, new challenges. Creeping Charlie needs persistence. Our best effort is the chelated iron. We only have so many tools in our organic toolbox. We can't, where there's hundreds or thousands of chemicals that are specifically made for specific weeds, we have very few tools. And those, I feel lucky that we have at least a tool for Creeping Charlie, but we'll never say that we can get it 100% because we never will be. My personal lawn, we have a little bit of Creeping Charlie in one spot, and we've been able to manage it where we'll have 2 years of it not being there. We'll have maybe 2 years of it being there. Small areas are easier to contain, but then there's homes that might have Creeping Charlie coming in from 3 directions. It might be in several spots, and those are going to be a bit more challenging for us. So slit seeding was recommended for us, but in the fall. Is doing this now a possibility? Yes. So slit seeding we always do our aeration and overseeding in the fall. We actually don't do slit seeding in the fall because that aeration is a nice tool that goes hand in hand with seeding, provides a space for that seed to go. Slit seeding, we do that in the springtime because that is going to disturb the soil very, very minimally. So it's going to take some of these tines and they're going to sow the seed directly into the soil. It gives good seed to soil contact and it won't disturb the soil. So we're not creating some soil space for weeds to pop in. Everything we do, we think about it in terms of weed control. We never want to do something that's going to encourage the weeds. It's just not a good cultural practice for us. So yes, we can always do slit seeding for anybody. We're starting that service now through we'll work it through early June. So if you want slit seeding pricing or compost seeding pricing, you can always reach out to us and we are happy to share pricing for that. The next question is, can any of your applications help with creeping bellflower? We have a bed of it in the middle of our lawn that I think was allowed to seed its seed for a long time. We just bought the house a few years ago. So creeping bellflower is now our new, it's like our new creeping Charlie, like our new concerning weed. And that one is, we don't have an organic solution. Really, if you moisten the soil and try to pull it up by its whole root system before it flowers, that's a good strategy, cultural strategy. Even non-selectives, it doesn't mean it gets it 100%, but there are organic non-selectives. So things like neem oil, even like a vinegar or, homemade concoctions of Epsom salt, Dawn dish soap, anything that will kind of kill it, or there's a product called, there's one called Demise and there's one called Final Sand, and those are organic non-selectives. A non-selective means it's going to kill everything. So you have to think about that you want to seed some grasses in replace of that. Always the challenge this time of year is seeding in the spring is more of a challenge to keep that seed, that like immature grass, alive throughout the summer than it is in the fall time. So just think about any seeding effort you do now. Sometimes people get it to grow really well, and then all of a sudden it might like peter out July, August, and it could be that it's super immature. Maybe went on vacation and didn't water and we had a stressful week, and then that grass will die. So think about it as a year-long effort. You could seed to replace it now, but then think about continuing to do that into the fall, or letting us know. And when we overseed, we can put some more attention to certain spots, making some extra passes to get some more seed to come in there. But creeping bellflower is it's a tough one, and we have no organic solution. Sometimes if people have it in areas like their landscaping beds, you can do something like tarp it off, tarping or solarizing, which is so the clear tarps have sun aid in heating everything up, or you can just have a black tarp that's basically stopping the sunlight from coming. Having those down for 8 weeks or more will kill everything below it, and it could be a nice way without chemicals to get rid of everything to start over. Another question is, I am new to your service, starting with overseeding last fall. I'm disappointed that I have a lot of bare spots. Not sure if it's related to grubs or something else. Is it possible to have an on-site consult so I know what services are recommended? Yes. So first, I will just mention that overseeding is meant to, it's just overseeding. It's not meant to be a new establishment seeding. So if there's significantly bare areas, we sow the seed in the fall at 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet. A new establishment seeding is generally 6 pounds or more per 1,000 square feet. So ours is meant to thicken and diversify. It's just like an annual thing. There are a couple things that could be happening. Yes, scrubs are an issue. The easy way to tell if it's grubs is if the grass can be easily pulled out. So if you go and tug on it, if you can just pull it out or even if it blows away, it has no root system, that is a clear sign that grubs had eaten all the grass roots last year. And then you don't necessarily see it until the spring when you can see that that grass did not overwinter well. The other thing you'll see, if you haven't seen now, but in the next couple weeks, is you'll see secondary feeders. So as those grubs are getting to the surface of the lawn, things like robins and crows and raccoons and could be turkeys, things will be interested in eating it. And so they will come and then they will start digging up the lawn, or you'll just notice that they're in the lawn pecking at it. That's a very clear sign of what it is. Grubs like sunny areas. They've been very, very prolific in like Mac Groveland area of St. Paul, historically Richfield, South Minneapolis. Edina had been affected the last 3-4 years, and then the last 3 years the Golden Valley, Crystal, Robbinsdale, anywhere on that Victory Boulevard area. Has had a lot. St. Louis Park had a lot of damage. There's certain other towns that I don't see it as much, particularly Bloomington this year. I've seen a little bit of it, but now it's more of what another thing that we noticed this year is winter kill. We typically don't have a ton of that. Snow mold is something that's very common for us, but the grass can recover through that. But this year we had two things that happened. One, we had a situation where there's been a lot of like pink snow mold. Pink snow mold can kill grass. The University of Minnesota is actually studying winter damage and noticing that we've had a significant amount of damage this year. So they're really looking into what the conditions were for that. Certain grass species are better than others in terms of winter damage. So we are changing up. We're creating a mix for people that have had winter damage this past year to use to help better protect, because certain grass species do much better with it. There have been areas where if they went into winter wet, so a lot of times under a downspout or low-lying area of the lawn, those have been killed this year. And it was something with it, the moisture going into winter that had the combination that grass has not been recovering. The other thing is winter desiccation. And so there was some time this winter that the temperatures got very cold and we did not have snow at the time. So that second half of winter, we didn't have as much snow. When it gets very cold on areas that snow is not, so usually like the top of a hill, a sunny area spot in the lawn, those areas have experienced desiccation. And so, unfortunately, that is just something that we're going to have to slit seed to repair. So you can request pricing on that. We can give you tips on how, if you want to seed on your own. There was a little bit in the beginning of the year where we said, let's kind of wait and see because some of it can recover. The things that are still looking poor right now, I think we're starting to get out of our recovery window. So we're going to want to assume that grass is not going to come back, and then we need to do some seeding instead. Again, slit seeding, and really, so in my presentation, I talked about bare spots. So there are, dog spotting, certain like areas where we can't access as well. That's why we can always leave seed behind, is because there might be some extra seeding to be done in certain areas. We need to have that communicated by a homeowner. We're not necessarily going to do new establishment seeding for everybody. So when you're seeing things, especially right now, let us know and we can help you with some strategies for that. We can on-site consult right now is so. We don't do that in the early spring because we can't possibly get to everybody before we want people to sign up for things like the corn gluten meal, our pre-emergent window. We don't have time to assess everybody because we're always gonna recommend that service. We can assess upon request. If to speed up things, sometimes if you just take a picture and send it in and say, this is what it looks like, what do you think? Many times I will assess if I'm unsure. There could be some that are very clear. If you live like in Mac Groveland area and I can see from a picture, I could very clearly know that is grubs. Grubs also, you can put a shovel in right now and lift up the soil a little bit and you should be able to see them quite apparent. But always let us know, and we can certainly come up and do a consult, especially in the season. Then once we get into the season, always let us know, because I have a lot more time outside of spring to do lawn assessments. The other thing that we do for everybody is on anywhere between 2 and 6 years, depending on need. Most people for sure by the 4th year, we do a soil test. So we're going to look at what nutrients are there, how the lawn's looking. We'll look at compaction and soil texture. We'll assess the weeds. We'll look back on the program, and then we'll take the results from that soil test, and we'll kind of adjust the program to the recommendations there. So we are trying to manage things. We just don't do it right on the front end, because organic is a process. It's meant to be worked slowly. Communication from the homeowner greatly helps us maintain the right expectations and get the program that's best for you. Yes, I think the same concern there. So let me know if you have more questions. You can type more. I'll just keep scrolling down. And of course, my email directly is Shay, SHAY, at Team LUNSETH, LUNSETH. You can certainly email me or anybody in our office. Justin is our scheduler. He also can answer any questions that you have. Emma and Mackenzie are our customer service reps, and they are happy to answer anything. And you'll probably receive emails from all of us, because we work as a team, but we're all working together. So anything that somebody can't answer will generally get to my desk. So next question is, we have a 3-foot deep ditch that we would like to grow something in, but not necessarily be mowed. Would a clover be a good choice? We are open to ideas. I would say that, so if it's a deeper ditch, I mean, one thing we have to think about is if water pools in there. There's certain things that don't like that as well. Clover would be one of them. It's not going to like a lot of saturation. It also wants sunlight. Excuse me. So fescues could work well in there. We would want one that doesn't like saturated conditions again, but a low-mow of fescue variety. I have to look up which one would be best in that condition, but you can do just one species or several cultivars of one species in a situation like that, and then you wouldn't have to mow it. There also might be very good landscaping choices, and those are more like ground covers. So sometimes like sedges are the ones that like saturated conditions. So if it's low lying, just having sedges in there that are perennials that you don't need to do anything with. There's other kind of low growing ground covers that might do really well. So whenever I get questions like that, I can talk more about grass species and some sunflowering plants that we have in lawns. But then if it's more into the plant knowledge, I would hand that over to our landscaping team. They can talk about choices there. We also do free consultations in landscaping. So if you just want somebody to come and just give some ideas, then and get you some pricing for those ideas, then you can kind of think about what you might want to do for that spot. So let me know if that answers that question, Mary Beth. And I can a test plot. Especially if somebody is close to our office, we're happy to do test plots, or we do that a lot at our own lawn here at work, and also my home. We can try things out, but we're always open to ideas, and always looking to improve our process, improve, what are new options for us? What are new products out there? We don't like to be the guinea pig of new things. Generally want them to be on the market for a bit of time. I like things to be researched. I don't like to just go with a product because somebody selling me it is telling me about how good it is. I really want to see some history of it. But we're always interested in doing experimentations, so we can get better at what we do. So then Paul says, after our cornmeal application, we had some ducks feeding in the lawn. This is cute, but could they and I can't read that part. Eat enough to minimize the pre-emergent weed control. Yes, they could. So sometimes we have people that live in like an area that might be on a pond or something, and not only are they eating the product, but they also could be just a nuisance. So always letting us know that. Dogs can also be super interested in it. Some dogs don't care. Some dogs are super interested. The one way you can minimize it is that if you water it in so it breaks down more quickly. So, you know, water it, multiple times, and because the more moisture it's going to get, you don't want to just water it so much that it just kind of washes away or dissipates. So like maybe water it after the first application, wait a day or two, and then water it again, and just try to get it to break down a little bit more quickly. Can get so the ducks aren't interested in it. Unfortunately, we don't have an alternative solution. So when people take the corn gluten out of their program, I don't have anything else to put in place of it. So we do hear this all the time. I also see it where I drive past and I can see tons of ducks in one lawn, and then I see that it's a customer, and know that that is definitely because of the corn gluten meal. Some years are better than others. So some years I have critters interested in it, and other years I don't. We've had the same corn gluten for many years. We like the consistency of it. It's more, it's a harder granular, so it makes it. We've had some in the past that were larger and softer, and it enticed the animals too much. This one is more like hydrolyzed, and so it's not as enticing, but certainly ducks do enjoy it. Um, Oh yeah, and then the one with the bellflower and doing a test plot. So yeah, that bellflower is it's a bugger um, of a weed, and it really is important for us in our neighborhoods to get rid of it, because it's just moving through everybody's. Certain places it's in everybody's lawn, so the best that we can do to get rid of it, continuing to pull things. I will. I'll respond. I put these webinars onto our YouTube page, and I also put them on our website. The YouTube page, I can comment on some of it, and I can kind of do some follow-up. Our landscapers do have some other situation, other things that we can do, especially when they're more in the beds, where they can kind of mechanically get rid of it and then redo the landscaping to have something so it doesn't, it's harder for it to come back. But even burning it is a strategy. And I think with chemicals, it's all about being a non-selective. So something like a Roundup is what they're going to recommend. I think I got through all of the questions. Does anybody have any further questions? And you could feel free to unmute and ask. Well, if not, I'll try to follow up with everybody here, or that I know, and try to follow up with some of the concerns. Please do reach out to us in the office. We're always happy to answer questions, and it's easier for us to answer them on the front end of the season and kind of construct the program to make sure that it's suitable for your specific lawn and your specific concerns. I really appreciate you joining in on the webinar. I will we'll post. We'll have one every month through this summer now, going over a lot of these same questions, and then things that are more seasonal to what's happening and what's happening out here in Minnesota throughout the summer. So I appreciate your attention, and appreciate the time, and happy to answer anything that I didn't today. And thank you so much.